Hello, everyone. Welcome to Going Solo with Cece. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and I am so pleased to be with you tonight. Those of you that don't know me, I am Cece Shatz. I am fondly called the Doyenne of relationship building. Basically, I just kind of help people go through some of the tough times in their life. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. We do have a guest that's going to be joining us. I'm hoping that maybe she's just running a little bit late. But Tracy, if we could talk tonight, Dr. Tracy Kemble, we're going to talk about her new book that's out. So it's an important book, and so I hope that she can join us. But in the meantime, let's get down to business. All of those great shows that you've been hearing about on Facebook and YouTube and all around town, you can see everyone right there on goingsolonetwork.com. All of our wonderful guests, our terrific hosts, great topics that they talk about. Everything can be found right there on goingsolonetwork.com. Something new for you, which we haven't really been sharing a great deal, which I want to start doing, is that we have groups on there. So you guys can join us. We have a fan group that is for all the whole station. So it's a fan base and it's completely free. You can join it. Maybe give us some comments on shows that you like and things like that. And then also we have a singles group there that we would love to have you join us. Then we have some other kind of a more designed groups that might help you get through maybe some of the tough times that you might be going through. So check it out right there on goingsolonetwork.com. Well, let's get down to talking a little bit about something that I think can change your life. This topic itself, it's 3 steps every divorced woman should take immediately after divorcing. I came across this article, which I thought was very interesting on a website, on a law firm website, which I was very pleased to see. Eggleston Law Firm. And so if you want to check that, it's on there. And I thought it was really good. And the reason being is because, man, I've been through it, right? I've got the t-shirt. And so I understand what it's like being a woman going through divorce. Now, guys, I know that we like to keep everything a little bit non-gender, but tonight let's talk about the ladies divorcing. Maybe give you a little bit of heads up of what women go through as they're divorcing, and then we'll break if our guest is able to join us. It could be because the time difference might be a little bit different for her, and sometimes that kind of messes things up. But let's talk about this because divorce puts a strain on the financial, social, and emotional relationship of the partners. This time, particularly, can be devastating for women who may lose confidence in themselves, be forced into custody issues, and may lose hope of ever finding happiness again. Some women find it hard to return to their normal self again. And, I've heard this time and time again as I've been moving through our divorce group that's local here, and also talking to those out there in the land of divorce, because we have really been touching into this. I'm going to turn my phone down because it seems like it always goes on when I'm when I'm on a show. But we want to make sure that we talk about this because I think it's truly important. Not to say that the guys don't have a difficult time, because I know for a fact that they do. But I know that women tend to get more devastated, and it's because their lives are completely shifting. And a lot of times economically, they're not at the same place. Guys generally are at a point in their lives where maybe their career is going and they can just keep on that treadmill, right? They can just keep working. Where women, we have to sidestep because if we have children or if we're balancing working and children and things like that, it's a tremendous hit for women as they move forward in divorce. So we're going to talk about the article, and I think that it's important to talk about these things. But one of the ways that women can get back on track, emotionally, and really help them through some of the difficult times that they're going to be experiencing through divorce and after divorce, is really place an importance on their self-dignity. And I think often as women, we don't do that enough. Even in our own lives, we don't really do that. We want to make sure that we, shake off any of the negativeness that seems to surround us as we go through divorce. We really want to step forward into the person that we are and the person that we're going to become. And so often we don't realize that. We don't realize that living through divorce is living through a moment of time, right? And then there's time after that. There's a life that we're going to be living after that. And so what we want to do is we want to try to focus on that. We want to focus on that, embrace that time that we're going to be moving forward. And we want to keep our self-dignity. We want to, really hold ourselves in check as we move forward in that, and really do a lot of self-care, as we move forward. And men, if you're listening to this, take heed, because not only can you help your partner move through this space of time of divorce, because you can make it a little easier on your partner if you're divorcing. And then also the fact remains that you also have to do that for yourself, right? So some of these things that I'm saying here today is also can be applied to the guys, right? In a couple different facets. And therefore, it can also be applied to the women, helping their partners move through with some self-dignity. And so what that means is that stop for a moment before you do something, right? And think it through, because so often we'll do things that really brings us down, really is something that we would never do in a million years, but we're doing it because we're hurt, right? We're doing it because we want to strike back, right? We're doing it because we just feel like we're out of control, And so often when we do these things and we think about it later, we think, how could I possibly have done that, said that, you know, that kind of thing, that kind of arrangement. And so we want to really think about what we do before we do it, and the impact not only does it have for us in that particular moment, but how it can shift our lives later on. So we want to have some self-dignity, right? We want to really, broaden our shoulders and really understand that whatever we do at this very moment is going to affect us in time, right? We don't want to, in our eyes of our children, we don't want to taint that. We want to be able to bring forward. So we most certainly need to really place importance on our self-dignity. And this article is really good, and I want to quote it because I think, do I have an actual author of it? I don't think I do. I think it's just something that they posted on here, and it's really very, very good. I mean, it says, in lieu of this light, women should recognize their unique gifts that set them apart and place emphasis on empowering them. Women must learn to trust and listen to themselves. We got to do that all the time, don't we? We must trust and listen to ourselves. And so we want to place importance, right? We want to place the emphasis on empowering ourselves. So how can we do that? Let's talk about that, because I think so often some of these shows don't tell you how to do something. They tell you what you need to do, but they don't tell you how to go about doing it. And one of the things is filling your well. And you've heard me say this time and time again. You must fill your well with positive enlightenment, right? So what you want to do is, as you move forward in your life, you want to continue to read good books, right? You want to read books that are self-helping. You know the areas in which you need some strength, right? You want to divert your attention from a negative to a positive, right? So you can do that by continuously filling your well. Surround yourself with positive, uplifting people, not people that are going to bring you down, right? You want to create a circle of friends or a circle of like-minded individuals that can understand what you're going through, how you're feeling. They can embrace you as you move forward in your life. They can help you to really steadfast and find who you are, because so often as we're going through divorce, our life is shifting, right? Our life is changing. Everything is just evolving around us. And what we find is that as we move through this, tornado that we're in, right? And we move out of the tornado, we start to become someone different. We start to be more enlightened of who we are. And so we want to step forward into our lives in a very positive way. So that is very, very important. So you want to continue to fill your well full. The next thing is to accept the economic changes of divorce. I tell you what, I struggled with this, and I will tell you. I struggled with this so severely because I was in an environment where finances was not really a big problem. You know, we were doing very well. Everything was getting paid. Everything was doing fine. And so when I came through, and I will be straight up, when I came through my divorce, I thought, well, we divide the assets, we divide, the expenses, and I won't be in that bad of a shape. Little did I know that my world was going to be turning upside down. And often women go through this. They find that they're economically in the toilet, as they're going through divorce. And when they step out of the realism of where they're at, they find that they're in a mess. They're in a financial mess because the attorneys have to get paid for. They're in a financial mess because all of a sudden you've got all these extra bills and their income has not changed, or they're having to now start a job that maybe they didn't have before. Maybe they put their education on the back burner. Maybe there's some different things like that. So what do you do, right? What do you do when you find yourself in this environment where everything is changing around you and you're just kind of holding your breath, right? Because you're going through divorce. I'll tell you what you do. You start accepting the facts as to where you're at. You start realizing, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where my funds are. What can I do to make my life different? And again, you need that group of people, other like-minded individuals that you can kind of reach out, hang on to, and that can help you through some of these things. But what you have to do is keep your own self-worth and know that wherever you're at now, you're not going to be there for very long. And you're going to step forward into something, I'm hoping, even better than you've ever thought could be possible. Because sometimes when we go through these difficult times in life, it gives us such a strength, right? It gives us, our shoulders become broad, and we start feeling like, you know what, I can get through life and I can make a way for myself. I can do that. And so you want to look at the economics as the where it is and say, you know what, I understand where I am. I'm not going to accept it, right? But I understand where I am, and I'm going to be able to start putting a plan together how to better myself, how to be able to make more money, how to create some sort of sense of security for myself, because I'm not sitting down and just crying and making sure that, my life is over. I want to step forward. And that's what you have to do. You have to understand where you're at, because you can't go forward if you don't, right? And so often we want to put our heads in the sand. We want to think, oh, I'm just going to pretend this isn't happening to me. And I did it. I've got the t-shirt, right? But if we can understand where we're at, we can then move beyond that point. So start putting a plan together. Start looking at your education. Maybe you need to go back to school. Start looking at different funding that's around you that maybe you could accept. That maybe there's something you can do. Family and friends could help you be able to move forward. Look at your expenses, your daily expenses. Are there a way to bring those down? Do you need to keep the house? And I've heard this, Sherman's show time and time again. He talks about finances through divorce. And one of the things he always says is, maybe that house, keeping that house for those children, maybe that's all good and well, keeping them into an environment where they're secure, they're safe and everything. But the reality, the rug is going to get pulled out from underneath you if you cannot afford it. So you need to talk to someone in the financial area so that you can understand, can you afford this home? Can you continue the way you're going? And start putting a plan together for yourself. So that would be step 2, is to accept the new economic changes of divorce, seeking counsel from a financial planner. And it may mean not even a financial planner, but just someone that knows finances, that can look at it from another side, that can start helping you and telling you exactly what you need to do. Then the last thing is probably one of the hardest things you can ever do, is let go. Let go, let go, let go. We hear it all the time. It is the hardest thing to do. And it's part of the forgiveness that you have to go through. You go through these different stages as you go through divorce, all the loss, the pain, the, being scared, being angry, being all these various different stages that you go through. But the last one is to let go of what was. But the biggest thing is to let go of what you thought your future was going to be. And that is the hardest thing. When I realized that the man that I married is not the man that I thought he was not the man that I actually married. He became someone totally different. I started then creating a shift in my life. It started creating more of an open path for me to be able to walk forward, because I kept hanging on to what I thought he was. I kept hanging on to what I really believed in my mind's eye. How could this stuff be happening to me? But the reality is he had already moved forward in his life long before I even did. And so the reality is I had to let it go, because I can't change what's going to happen. I can't change the past. I can't change anything about anybody else but me, right? And so I had to start learning and understanding that and letting that go. And when I did that, what I did is I started saying to myself, what do I want my life to be? What do I see for myself as I'm moving forward? And so, I had started understanding my economics difference. I started understanding the life that I chose during my lifetime is because I thought I was going to have a partner in my life certainly has changed. And so I then realized that I needed to start creating a path for myself. And when I did that, I started turning the focus from my past to my future. And then I began letting go. And so there are books out there. There are, again, support groups out there that can help you with other like-minded people. There are all these things that you can embrace and touch that can be able to help move you through. And so I know that you can do it. So just go out. If you want to read that article again, it's on, let me see who the law firm is. It's Eggleston Law Firm. The article is there for you to read. I thought it was a great article, and certainly understand. So again, 3 steps every divorced woman should take immediately after divorcing. Place importance on your self-dignity. Accept your new economic changes of divorce. And divorced women should learn to let go. And so I hope that this helps you as you move forward. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we do have our author here with us, and I am very, very pleased to be able to talk with her. We're going to talk about, our topic is going to be voice to crazy, and many behaviors. And so you're going to get that when we talk about her wonderful book that she's written. We have Dr. Tracy Kemble with us, and she's got 30 years of experience in abuse recovery. And you're going to be sitting back going, whoa, wow, when you hear about this book, and you're going to want to run out and get it. So meantime, stick with us. We're going to take a quick break. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo with Cece. I am so happy to be here with you tonight. As I said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm John Thomas. I want to share with you a professional products and services directory we call Going Solo Directory. And you need to check this out. If you want exposure to your business or are seeking professional product or services, this directory has it all. And that membership, for the many special features, you get the benefit of a worldwide exposure with a 40-minute video interview on an international business show showcase. All this for just one low annual fee. For more information, contact goingsolodirectory.com.
Hello, welcome back. You guys, we have a treat for you. We're going to be talking about Voice to Crazy, Making Behaviors. And we have our wonderful guest here with us. We're going to bring her right up. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I want to apologize because I was at the dentist.
Oh,
So I'm
no.
talking a little bit funny. I had unexpected dental work done. So I'm still
Okay.
kind of talking like that. I
No
apologize.
problem. I thought maybe it might be the time difference. We get that sometimes too, the time with the time, but not a worry. But we want to talk about your book and your book. You've been 30 years of experience in abuse recovery, Dr. Tracy Kemble. Am I saying it correctly, Kemble?
You are.
Okay. And so, the beginning of your own tragic journey, you've written this book, which kind of gives voice to the crazy behaviors, right, that imprison people. So let's talk a little bit about why you decided to create this book.
So I've been in the recovery industry, in specifically in abuse recovery for over 30 years. And of course I entered the journey trying to find my own map out of the chaos and the pain that I was living in. And it then turned into a life's mission to make sure that any other woman going through this wouldn't have to do it alone and would be able to get on a much clearer path of recovery quickly. Well, fast forward, as everything in life evolves, we now specialize in narcissistic abuse recovery. My program is called Reclaiming Me, and it's the journey from narcissistic abuse to self-love. And this book was written as just one of the extensions and tools within the recovery program. And I'll share with you a little bit later why I came to write this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because, we're hearing this more and more. Before, when I first started my divorce back in '08, we never even heard, it didn't even come up about this type of abuse that individuals go through, and both men and women experience it. But now it's really out there. People are really talking about it. They've given a voice to it and understanding, the behaviors and the patterns that are taking place. And so let's talk a little bit about your book here. I'm going to put it up so everybody can get it. And then how can they get your book?
The book is called Narcissistic, and where you just mentioned that you said we're giving voice to narcissism. This book gives words to narcissism. It's called Narcissistic, and it is the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary, and it has over 350 terms and words associated with narcissism, narcissistic abuse trauma, and narcissistic abuse recovery. You can find it on Amazon.com. Is the easiest, just like dictionary, only it's called Narcissistic, and it's an amazing reference manual for people who are dealing with this ghost of narcissism, and they need to give name to the many ghosts that are found within them.
Yeah, what I found, I'm just going to put here that where we can find it. I'm sorry. I guess we're doing things backwards here tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
No, I know that your show has the demographic of people who are going solo at this stage of their life unexpectedly, and I think one of the most important things to remember is that life can go off tracks on occasion, and you just have to learn how to reboot and carry on as quickly as possible. And this doesn't mean this can't be used as, oh my gosh, I need to go through life with somebody, because even if you're with somebody, life is going to go off tracks. It's a matter of getting off tracks and knowing how to rescue yourself and get yourself back on track.
Yeah. When I went through my divorce, I didn't realize, the various different behaviors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was talking with thank God, my neighbor was a counselor, and she would come over and we would talk, and we got to be really good friends. And so I really got therapy for free, and so, which was great. All I had to do was just give her a glass of wine and some munchies, and we would talk for hours. But I realized then that I started getting educated about it, and the more that she would share with me the different things. And when I looked at your book, I saw the definitions, and I thought, oh yeah, because I wasn't even aware of it. I mean, the patterns were there. I was just so ingrained with the behavior that I didn't realize that it was not acceptable behavior. I just kind of went through life like that. And, and also, I had abuse in my early years of living. And so it was just created like this kind of pattern for me. But then when she started mentioning, the various different scenarios, the different words, the different patterns, the different, definitions, then I started realizing, wait a minute, I just wasn't aware of this. And I started really looking at it, you know, in a different light. And
Yeah.
so I think your book would be so beneficial to those who think that maybe possibly they're in a relationship that is maybe not the norm, or something odd about the relationship. They could read this and then look at the definitions and then see for themselves, are you fitting within that parameter?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I get asked often, how did you end up in these? Shouldn't say this because I'm a multiple time offender. That how did you get involved in these narcissistic relationships? And I explained that I was raised in a family environment where narcissism was present. So the personality of a narcissist was normalized to me. And I thought this was normal behavior. It doesn't mean that I liked it. It doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. It didn't make me feel crazy or depressed or all those things. But I thought that all people behaved this way. So what happened to me as I progressed in life, I would do normal by being with this type of a personality. And and in order for me to finally reach out and get help, I had to be on fire. And the way that the visual picture that I like to give is if you looked at me at that time in my life, you would see somebody whose like hand was on the electric grill,
Hmm.
and it was sizzling, and people who would witness what I was going through, they would be like, "Oh my gosh, doesn't that hurt?" And I'd say, "Yeah." And they say, "Well, don't you want to take your hand off?" And my response, because of my prior trauma, was, "Can I?"
Hmm.
I didn't know that I had the power to stop people behaving that way in my life.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so true. You don't. It's like, and that's why I really think your book is going to be great, because if they're not accustomed to it, right? If they realize that there is, some time in their life that's not quite, that shouldn't be, right? Then they can read the book and they can read the different terms, the definitions, and they can start determining if that's the path that they're going down, if is that the path that they had in their past. And because it is true that you don't realize you can create a change, because you don't realize that you're in some sort of, all you know that you're in some sort of, you know, like I would say, like a hurricane or a tornado. You're in some sort of tornado, but you have no idea how you're going to step through it, step
Yeah,
out of it,
true.
because you're used to that going around all the time. And it's like, oh, here it goes again, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but for myself during that time, I was working really hard at trying to stop it. I was doing all of the things that the professionals would tell me: exercise boundaries, speak your first voice, etc., etc. And those are all wonderful pieces of advice if you're dealing with a normal person.
Hmm.
But the narcissist doesn't care what the rules are. They're going to make their own rules, and you're going to have to play along with their rules. And one thing I want to say is, many people say, "Well, how do I know if I'm in a narcissistic relationship?" That's a difficult question to answer because narcissism comes in many different boxes. For example, there's the grandiose narcissist, there's a covert narcissist, there's the cerebral narcissist, there's the altruistic narcissist, etc., etc. But the one thing that I want to tell you is that if you are in a relationship where you are experiencing a fog, where
Hmm.
you're not 100% sure what this person represents, You're not 100% sure where you stand in that person's life. You cannot easily bring up difficult conversations. And I really believe that in adult relationship, there is no such things as a difficult relationship. There's something that needs to be talked about that might be a difficult situation, but communicating with the number one person in your life is never to be difficult.
Mhm.
And so if you find yourself living, it's called the fog, in fear, obligation, guilt, lots of rules, this is not love. This is all warning signs of somebody who you may be involved with somebody with narcissism. And the extension of that is somebody who, when you try to bring up your concerns and needs, they you're expressing your concerns and needs more than once. How's that?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, we should not have to repeat this hurts me in a relationship. We are not to if you are getting a repeat on the expression of your needs, let your warning signs go off and listen to them carefully.
Right. Yeah, another thing too is that they'll tend to shift it, what you're saying, like you'll be talking to them about it, and then they'll shift it to another subject or to themselves or all of those things. So you're having to constantly do a repeat on trying to get your feelings out. So yes.
In my book, and again, this has 350 words. So what you just described, this is on page 48 in the book, and you can see it's literally just a dictionary, and I classified them as abuse words or trauma words or recovery words. And what you just described is something called blame shifting.
Mhm.
And in the book, it is described as an abuse technique where the narcissist avoids responsibilities of wrongdoing, claiming that the abuse would not have occurred but for the previous actions of the victim. So what they do is you come to them with a problem, and the next thing you know, you're apologizing for something that you did that somehow hurt them, and resolution never gets resolved in an abusive relationship with a
Yeah.
narcissist.
Absolutely. That's why I think that this book is so great. Is because you can read that and when that happens, that blame shifting happens, you don't realize it as much because the conversation's going off in another pattern. You don't quite get after a while you do. But when it first starts happening, you don't really understand what's happening. It's just kind of that shift is happening. And so when you
Right.
read it in your definition, you go, oh, yeah, the light bulb goes off. The light
Yeah.
bulb goes off. You're saying, yes, exactly. That's what happens to me.
Yeah, and the thing about a narcissist is they're slick willies, that they are masters of manipulating the word, and because they study their target or their victim, they had conditioned you to be able to say, like, okay, if I talk fast enough or confusing enough or with too big of words or too small of words or uh, too much body language, I can get them where I want them to go.
Mhm.
So they know exactly what they're doing when they're blame shifting.
Right. So let's talk a little bit at the beginning of a relationship because that's where we get a little snowball, don't we? At the beginning of a relationship with this. I mean, it's you think everything's normal, and so let's talk a little bit about that. How people can kind of pick up on it at the beginning when they're because we have a lot of people that are dating, starting to date, and they don't realize when things like that start happening. So can you share a little bit with us?
Yeah, one of the things that a narcissist does is a narcissist is somebody who feels invisible on the inside, much like their target, because of our trauma wounds. But what happens is that they normally see somebody who's infectious and charismatic and a bright light and empathetic, etc. And they're so excited, like, oh my gosh, there's my savior, in a sense. So what they do is they target in on this person, and they come in hot. That's the best way to say, is that they come in and they just start a relationship very, very quickly. Very quickly they'll love bomb you, and love bombing means that they overwhelm you with love and attention and gifts and future faking and adoration. And if you just relax and listen to your first voice, you'll feel it. You'll be like, this is really exciting, except I wonder if it's a bit much. And if you're hearing that, it's a bit much, because love doesn't push, and they push and they push and they push and they push. And what they're doing is that they're a narcissist wears this mask for up to 2 years within a relationship. And there's 3 phases in the narcissistic abuse cycle. The first is called the honeymoon stage, or what I call the dream boy, dream girl stage. And during this stage, they're love bombing you. They're doing whatever it takes to get you to fall in love with them. And that can last up to 2 years. And on whatever that deal breaker is, or that date is, they will suddenly go from somebody who adores you to somebody who abhors you, just like that. And then you'll get stuck in a pattern of pursuing and pursuing and pursuing and trying to get back to good with what you used to have. But what happens in narcissism is that the narcissist needs continual fuel, continual attention, continuous. They're like a glass with holes in the bottom that they learn to rely on you to fill up. And in the beginning, when you're loving them back, you're feeling that fuel for them. But as they are very immature individuals, like a child gets bored quickly of a toy, the moment they get bored and the way that you treat them is not enough, they'll flip it on its head. They will not have, hey, let's expand our relationship and let's start doing this or blah, blah, blah. They will flip it on its head, and suddenly they will start to get the fuel by doing things that make you cry or confused or depressed or anxious or fearful. And that's called stage 2, which is the degradation stage. Degradation stage.
Yeah. So what about the third stage?
The third stage is called the discard phase. And when you're in the degradation stage, what happens is that the narcissist will do something called the hurt to rescue, where they'll push you down to pull you up, to push you down to pull you up, to push you down. And so you're kind of like this at all times. And so what happens is that when they push you down, oftentimes they may break up with you, but soon they'll come back. And it's all putting you back on the mini cycles within the overall cycle. At the very end of a relationship, when a narcissist feels that they've gotten everything they possibly can from you, it will then slip into the discard phase, where literally one day they'll just put you out like trash and move on with their life.
It is difficult. I mean, this book is really, there's a lot of terms. What do you think is I don't know if you could say the most valuable term, or the one you want to really highlight to people?
Oh my goodness. I think it depends on where you are in the recovery journey. So let's see. I think a big word for me in the midst, at the depth of my pain, was understanding that there's something called CPTSD. And this is the condition that every trauma victim comes out of. Well, I'll start from the beginning. When I was being abused, when I learned about fuel sourcing, that was a huge thing. What is fuel sourcing? And this is when I learned that those of us, most of us, when we enter into a relationship, we enter into a relationship to fall in love and to find love. And a narcissist enters a relationship to fall in fuel or to extract fuel. And so that was a big aha moment for me, that I realized this person doesn't love me. This person needs fuel from me. So that was in the abusive days. When after many years, and I was so demolished on the inside. When I went into therapy my first time, I walked in, and the only thing that I could say, the therapist says, "Why are you here?" And I answered, which was, because I'm invisible. I feel invisible, and my brain feels like it's made of mush. And that was the only way that I could describe myself after the years of trauma. And what I eventually learned is that I was suffering from a condition called CPTSD. Now, in the past, I had been treated for PTSD, but PTSD is a different treatment than CPTSD because of the type of trauma, especially the psychological trauma that narcissistic abuse goes through. In my recovery, my favorite word that I have to remind myself of often was, it's a word, it's in the P section, it's called poop in your soup. And this word was so important to me because as I was raised in a familial environment where narcissism was a normal, I have this unbelievable ability to tolerate the intolerable. I mean, I wish they give prize money and PhDs for people who could handle pain and suffering, because it was a norm for me. And so along my healing journey, I found myself once again not tolerating the extreme narcissism that I had, the screaming and the yelling and the, all the things that go along with it. But there would still be, mini adult temper tantrums and different things of that nature where I would lose my peace, et cetera, et cetera. And one day I was so far along in my journey, and yet finding myself feeling some of my old emotions. And somebody used a term with me, poop in your soup. And I'm like, what does that have to do with narcissism? And they said, Tracy, tolerating even an ounce of narcissistic abuse is like having poop in your soup, and poop in your soup is never okay. So that's the one that keeps me. When I start to tolerate it, I'll tell myself, Tracy, you would not drink soup with poop in it, so don't tolerate a relationship with narcissism in it.
Wow, that I tell you what, that really makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's so much abuse when it comes to this kind of behavior, both financially and emotionally, and just a whole huge amount of it, which I can certainly understand why you have so many terms and words in your book. And so definitely, everyone, please go out and get it on Amazon. It's definitely an important book to have. So I want to thank you so much. Our time has run out. Is there any last words you'd like to leave our audience?
The most important thing is I want you to know that love is not supposed to be blurry. That if you're not clear in your love or relationship, then take that as a warning sign. If you are unclear about something, have the courage to just ask a direct question. If that person does not give you a direct answer, that's not a safe relationship. And as you're going solo, maybe the first time, maybe not, but going solo and being clear is outweighs any type of having a companion that leaves you in the blur.
Yeah, very well said. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I truly
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it.
And sorry for my delay today.
No problem. The time went by so quickly. It's so interesting, and the term. So definitely, I think it's one out there for everyone to keep in, keep it on your bookshelf. And if you start questioning a relationship, look up some of the words to see if it fits your relationship, because I think it's definitely something we need to be more in tune with, definitely more visual with, for sure. So thank you so much. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
All right. Bye.
Bye
Well,
bye.
everyone, you guys are listening to Going Solo with Cece. I want to thank you so much for joining us here today. You guys can reach me on the Going Solo Network. goingsolonetwork@gmail.com is my email. I love to get all of your messages and all of your emails. It makes a world of difference to me, and I want to thank you for sending them to me. Also, all of our information is right there above, right where you see the goingsolonmedia.com. You can find all of our wonderful hosts and guests on there. So check them out. Check out all their shows. That we would really appreciate it. And please follow us, and make a comment, subscribe to our channel. We would highly appreciate it. So thank you so much. I am Cece Shatz. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.